Hello, and welcome to another edition of Spooky News from Spooky Ventures. I'm your host, Gary Hill. This will be our last Spooky News update before Halloween 2024, so the season really is upon us in full. As I say, spooky is a lifestyle, not a season, but it is nice when the rest of the world is in line with those of us in the spooky tribe, even if it's only for a little while. Now, before we get to the news, I need to make the usual announcements. First, all things Spooky Ventures, and especially this YouTube channel, are supposed to be interactive, so please interact. You can do that by liking our videos, sharing our videos, and commenting on them. You can also do that by subscribing to our channel. And you can email us at keepitspooky@spookyventures.com. Don't forget, you can also find all kinds of Spooky Ventures merchandise at cafepress.com/shop/spookyventures. Next up, if you want more information about anything we talk about here, there are two places you can find that. First, you can stick around after we're done talking. That's because all the source and more information URLs are included as title cards at the end of this video. Secondly, you can check the details section of this YouTube video listing because they are also all included there. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's check in with our remote reporter, DB Lovecraft. DB, what news have you got for us?
Thanks, Gary. We'll get things going with movie news. First, after Terrifier 3 dominating at the box office for a couple of weeks, it's been dethroned at the top of the list. That's not a bad thing for horror, though, because the new winner is Smile 2, so it's been several weeks of horror getting the most ticket sales. Now let's turn our attention to werewolves. Two upcoming werewolf movies got new trailers. The first of those is for The Wolfman, which will be hitting theaters on January 17th. Coming from Universal, the movie is a reboot of the classic film from the golden age of Universal monster movies. It was also revealed recently that this film will be getting an R rating. That won't be the first werewolf movie hitting theaters in the coming months, though. On December 6th, the indie horror film Werewolves will be showing on movie screens. It also has a new trailer, so with that one, we don't get just one werewolf, and it's coming a month earlier. Continuing with trailer news, a teaser trailer has been released for The Strangers Chapter 2. The movie is the second in a series that is based on the 2008 movie The Strangers. It follows the 2024 The Strangers Chapter 1. No release date has been announced for the new installment, but you can see the trailer now. The movie Until Dawn has had a release date announcement. The film, which is based on a horror video game of the same name, will hit theaters on April 25th. You will have to wait longer to see the new Conjuring movie, though. The Conjuring Last Rites has begun filming. It is the 9th installment in the series and said to be the final one. It will be hitting theaters on September 5th of next year. Another recent movie announcement is for a film you will have to wait longer to see. It was recently announced the horror comic book The Lot will be getting the film treatment. The story is about a movie soundstage that is being reopened after many years. It has not been empty, though, because something remains there after cultists conducted a ritual on camera years ago. That sounds like a good basis for a horror film treatment. That's it for the movie news for this time, so back to you, Gary.
Thanks, DB. I can't shake the feeling that your filming location looks familiar to me. Maybe I'll figure it out eventually. In the meantime, I've got some news about horror coming to home video screens. We'll start with streaming service Shudder. They have a new series coming out called The Creep Tapes. The series focuses on a serial killer who is in the Creep series of movies. There will be 6 episodes. Each one of them will be bearing the title of the victim shown in that episode. The series will hit Shudder on November 15th, but a new trailer has just been released, and that is what got the mention in this news update. Another series I mentioned a while ago was a Ghostbusters animated series that was in development. Well, news came out over the last week that the project is progressing nicely. According to Gil Keenan, who will be co-producing the series with Jason Reitman, The show is being created for Netflix, and the project is moving forward. He also revealed that they are talking about more live-action Ghostbusters movies. The supernatural horror film Bagman hit digital and video on demand on October 18th. The movie had been in theaters last month, but it basically flopped there. So now is your chance to see if you missed something special on the big screen or if you dodged a bullet by not going to the theater. Now, we've talked quite a bit about Terrifier 3 in these news shows, and it's still at the theaters. It has done really well at the box office, but it's coming to home video in December. There's going to be a special steelbook edition of the movie that includes a 4K UHD disc along with a Blu-ray. And that will be available on December 17th, just in time for Christmas, but you can pre-order it now. Given that the movie takes place at Christmas time, I was a little disappointed that they changed the release to theaters from December to October, but I guess this is the silver lining on that decision, because you can watch it at home in time for the season. Alien Romulus will also be coming home in December. It will have a special edition, but rather than jumping on the latest technology for that release, they are going full retro with it. That's because they are releasing a limited edition VHS version of the movie. Yes, you heard me right, VHS. Now, they aren't going retro only, because there will be 4K UHD, Blu-ray, and DVD versions available too. Those will all be available on December 3rd. Now with that, let's go back to DB for some coverage of some more news items.
Gary, I've got one you missed, and it fits under your Put the Spooky Back into Christmas theme. The Christmas horror classic Silent Night, Deadly Night is getting a 4K UHD release from Shout Factory. It will be available on December 10th in celebration of the 40th anniversary of the original release of the movie. It is going to be a 3-disc set that also includes a standard Blu-ray edition. Of course, it will also have a lot of bonus features packed into the set. From there, let's turn to some spooky music news. A new song has been released that should fit in nicely with your Halloween celebrations. Indie rockers Fuzzy Surf have a new song out simply titled Happy Halloween. You still have time to add it to your Halloween playlist. If you need something to snack on while listening to that playlist, you might want to stop by your local Dunkin' Donuts. They have several Halloween offerings. Those include a potion macchiato and spider donuts. You can also get some festive munchkins in a special Halloween bucket. Next up, we have some news about an upcoming graphic novel. John Carpenter Presents George A. Romero's The Amusement Park comes from John Carpenter's comic book company. Yes, that John Carpenter, Mr. Halloween himself. The comic book is an adaptation of a lost film from George Romero, and it will be available May 5th. Continuing with book-related news, fans of R.L. Stine's Goosebumps book series might want to look into some offerings from Funko. That's because they have unleashed several Funko Pops based on covers from some of Stine's books. Well, now we'll turn things back to you, Gary.
That's the end of the actual news items for this time. As we always do, though, we'll have dates from our spooky calendar. We populate that with horror release dates, birthdays of authors, actors, directors, and others in the horror community, and more. You can always find the calendar at the main page at spookyventures.com. Just scroll to the bottom of the page and you'll find the link. DB will be giving us some dates from the calendar now, though.
Thanks, Gary. Before I get to those calendar dates, though, I'd like to remind you that all things Spooky Ventures are supposed to be interactive. You can interact with the YouTube channel by liking and sharing our videos or commenting on them. You can also interact by subscribing to the channel. Also, don't forget to stick around after we're done talking to see all source and more information URLs. Of course, you can also find that by looking at the details section of this video. Now on to the calendar. There are a lot of dates this time around. In fact, we just have 2. First, the movie Your Monster opens today, October 25th. The other piece of news feels a little self-serving, but next Tuesday, October 29th, there will be a new episode of Spooky Movie Time with Scary Gary. That feels self-serving because I am also a remote reporter on that show. We'll be watching The Monster, followed by the classic Vincent Price movie The Last Man on Earth. And of course, there's also a remix of the monster included in the episode. Well, that's it for this time, so back to you, Gary.
Well, that brings us to the end of the final spooky news for October 24th. We'll be back at some point next month for another spooky news update. In the meantime, remember, spooky is a lifestyle, not a season, so always keep it spooky. And here's hoping you have a ghoulishly spectacular Halloween. Spooky Ventures is the home for spooky content and spooky merchandise on the web. Check it out today at spookyventures.com. And remember, always keep it spooky.